Good morning, Malacañang Press Corps. Welcome sa press briefing ni Presidential Spokesperson Ernesto Abella. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Malacañang Press Corps. We're fortunate to have today as our resource person one of the most respected business speakers in the country. Francis Kong is a businessman, columnist, broadcaster, book author, and an inspirational speaker. As an entrepreneur, Francis is versed in the field of manufacturing and retail. He founded a famous garment brand and ran it successfully for 17 years, and also ventured into the retail of an Italian fashion brand and managed its marketing and operations for many years. He has formed Funworks Incorporated and Success Options, which started as a publishing company and now offers learning and development in business, work, and life. Actually, I was able to have time with him recently when he invited me to a session with a motivational speaker, another speaker, but he spoke about morality, markets, and business, and also millennials. All right, so it is with distinct pleasure that we have invited, and please welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the Malacañang Press Corps, our guest, Mr. Francis Kong. Thank you, Francis.
Thank you. Good morning. Well, let me try to do something different. Since I see a lot of young people here, can I know who among you are the youngest from the press corps? That's false news. Okay, is there anybody, who's the youngest person here? I see a very young lady over there. Uh-huh.
I think the girl in Ruth and the two ladies.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you go. Okay, so you are so young, Mom. May I know your name, please? Your name? Tricia, you're so young. Does your mama know you're here? Okay. What's happening in the workplace right now can best be demonstrated with what I'm going to do. Tricia, I will challenge you with the world's #1 brands, and they dominated the market a couple of years ago. And let me see if you recognize any one of them. Are you ready for this? Tricia, you get a book from me for free. Is that okay for doing this? Okay. So here you go. Tricia, are you familiar with the following brands? Olivetti,
Sorry?
Olivetti,
No.
Olympia, Remington,
Yeah.
Underwood,
Yeah.
Smith Corona.
Mm.
What were they?
Brands. I'm sorry, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go home now. Well, for those of you who are not exactly young, what were they? Typewriters. That will, in one of the talks that I gave, one young person responded and she says, "Oh, I know what Olympia is." I said, "What is it?" And then she says, "It's a camera." No, that's Olympus. Somebody else says, "I know what Remington is. It's Medias." No, that's another brand. And so what happens right now is that in the business landscape now, you can practically talk about business with associating it with the millennials. And that is one place wherein we need to understand and how to define what it is that's happening now in the workplace. If you take a look around you, you can see that the country is a very young country. Our median age is what? 24 years old. And what I plan to present to you today is to understand where they are. First, I want to thank our secretary for inviting me over. It's such a privilege for me to be with you, and I would consider you colleagues whether you would accept that or not. I would first refer to the famous New York Times personality, celebrity superstar Thomas Friedman saying something like this: "A news article is designed to proclaim facts and happenings. A columnist is designed to provoke emotions." I am of the second part. I write a business column with the Philippine Star. And so we are either in the heat or light business. Light, because you are to illuminate people with facts that they need to know. Heat, because we need to provoke people, our opinions. We have to provoke people into certain actions. And I'm here to share with you the idea that any millennial today with a smartphone and a laptop is now a journalist and a reporter, and a critic, and a fashion stylist, and a photographer, so forth and so on. Now, I'd like you, ladies and gentlemen, to know where I'm coming from. I move in the area of business, and I speak and I train business people, whatever hierarchy they belong to in the food chain, corporate food chain. But I also speak to college and high school students all the time. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I fly to Bacolod and speak to about 3,000 young people in the school there. And I'm not talking about the millennials from the vantage point of sociology, but I'm presenting my observations from the business world's point of view as a columnist sharing opinion. We can hardly talk about the business landscape today without talking about the millennials. The median age, 24.4. We are a very young country. That's so much great resource there that is still yet untapped. Almost half the entire Filipino workforce now comprises millennials. But right now, never before in the history of humankind, when you find 3 generations of people working side by side inside their cubicle prisons. These are the baby boomers, the Gen Xers, and the millennials. Millennials, they're extremely technology savvy. Now, here's one thing you and I need to know. They want experiences now more than just stuff. They are restless and impatient. They want to work for business organizations today that offer an image of not being money-centric all the time, but they do participate in volunteer programs and they feel a tinge of pride belonging to that organization. They are extremely sensitive when it comes to their relationship with their managers and their team leads. They can quit their jobs anytime they want. They expect their bosses to be trustworthy. And they're brilliant. They get things done, but they get bored easily. Credit that to video games. Now, this is the biggest possibility that remains untapped, as that these young people can be the best entrepreneurs this country will ever see. In many business organizations, I see the same 3 common gaps happening. Number 1, skills gap. Educational institutions are not churning out graduates well equipped to take over the task, and that's why the moment they get on board on business organizations, companies will have to spend a lot of money retooling them, retraining them, and reconfiguring them so that they can work. Now, before we get into the case of the frailing educational system, which may be unfair, my question now is, how do we equip the young people today with emerging skills that are not yet there, but the moment when they get on board, technology now will introduce new things? Number 2, what I find is the leadership gap. Leadership gap because senior tenured managers don't even know the mindset of the young people, and they use old ways, and they drive talented young people away. Top 2 reasons why talented young people quit. Number 1, they can't get along with their bosses, and number 2, the feeling that they are not appreciated. And number 3, and I think this is the biggest one, the values gap. Somehow, the modern day lifestyle has brought them to a point wherein certain important things are treated as casual and certain casual things are given and blown up with unnecessary importance. And this is why in most clientele of mine, the word malasakit now is very, very high in their corporate value scheme. But amazingly, one corporate value that is rising in prominence and importance is integrity as well. Here are the following traits. Number 1, the millennials today, they want authenticity. They actually appreciate raw videos and footages that can show blemishes and faults. Any video that you present that is too polished, they will immediately suspect that it has commercial transactions agenda behind it. Number 2, they appreciate genuine mistakes. It reminds them that you and I are all human. Number 3, they see the entire industry not only as a means to get money and things that can satisfy their immediate wants. But when they start working in companies that present them with long-term retirement benefits, it does not interest them at all. Now, before we get into the case of the young people for being impatient, ladies and gentlemen of the press, let me ask you one question. When we were in school and we want to do our research, where do we go? Library. What kinds of books do we have to pull off the shelves? Encyclopedia. We open 5 volumes, we can't find the answer. The next question now I'm going to ask Tricia is today, when you want to do research, where do you go? No, you go to coffee shop and you bring Google with you. And so within a few nanoseconds, you have your answer right away. So in terms of the corporate business compensation plan and all these things, will have to provide some immediate results. And when you make them wait, they don't have the patience for that. As a business person, my caution to the industry is that we cannot look at these young people today as consumers. We have to look at the young people today as creators. They have, by the tip of their fingertips, all the tools to create new things, and they are the ones that are causing disruptions in the business industry. This is why leaders need to update and upgrade their leadership skills, while the young people now have to be trained in terms of soft skills like behavior and conversation skills and the latest intelligence now, according to business gurus now, is what is called LQ. It's not lover's quarrel. It is called likability quotient. Many of the millennials are angry, and they express their emotions. They're shifting their trust. One thing I have noticed among the young is that their trust on basic traditional institutions like church and schools and government is now shifting towards, for the first time. Guys, help me out. What are the usual warnings we get from our parents? Never accept any gift from a stranger. Do not go into a car with a stranger. Never enter the home of a stranger. And yet they go to Uber and they go to Airbnb. So trust shift now is from traditional institutions towards widely distributed market platform wherein transparency coming from reviews is more trusted than from the opinions from journalists, critics, editors, and the experts. What are the areas of improvement? As I share this with you, I am reminded myself as a parent of 3 young people then. Number 1, we need to entrust ourselves with a burden to help them improve on their communication skills. Number 2, we have to develop them to manage their moods and emotions very carefully and to practice rational thinking rather just deciding based on their feelings and emotions. And number 3, enable them with the ability to understand long-term success from short-term pleasures and that not all things can be taken casually. Casualness in all things will lead to casualty. And so, here's what it is. We are in the light and in the heat business. And so, it has been my great responsibility to say that in whatever things we do, whether I say it, I write about it, I talk about it, there should be ethics, there should be integrity, and there should be truthfulness behind because they can easily spot a fake. They don't easily spot fakes, but they even manufacture fakes very effectively. So, with this very brief time, as I conclude, I don't know if you've noticed this, emotions now play a very, very high role in terms of business marketing. Marketers are the sharpest people in understanding their portfolio. Almost every advertisement now you see has an emotional component built into it. Because the young people's emotions now can easily be manipulated and maneuvered. And maybe that's the reason why false news is now making its way. I remember what Hollywood author Denzel Washington says. If I don't read the newspaper, I am uninformed. But if I read the newspaper, I'm misinformed. Which one is which? So, as a communicator, I think we just need to be very putting so much emphasis on truth, on ethics, and on right behavior. Why? Trust, ethics, integrity, love, empathy. They're not sexy. They may not sell a lot of news. And we brand them as mushy, but they are not heat. They are light that illumine the world and to give them a better chance of tapping into their potential in this world. Let me just conclude by saying my son Brian now, he's 34 years old. He's running a successful restaurant chain called Crazy Katsu with his Japanese partner, but he's a musician. Young people are creative, yet they are entrepreneurial. One key word for our entire team now is let's tap into the entrepreneurial spirit of the young people because it is there, but we just have to tap into it. My designer daughter, who's building a name for herself, I'm beginning to be known as you're the daddy of Hannah Kong, and I love it because she does designs. And she's 29 years old. And my youngest, Rachel, graduated in multimedia arts. She's been assisting me in my slides and my graphics. She's now handling my consultancy business at 25 years old. They are all entrepreneurs. Last year, I had a heart-to-heart daddy-to-daughter talk with my youngest, Rachel, and I said, sweetheart, you've been a... I want to increase your salary. And she looked at me, teary-eyed, and she said, Dad, I'm your daughter, you're my father. You don't have to do that. I want profit sharing. That's the entrepreneurial spirit with all the young. Maraming salamat po, and God bless you.
Malacañang Press Corps, would you like to ask more inspirational message? Yes. Marlon Ramos?
Why? I'm just joking. Sir, you were talking about values gap, leadership gaps,
Skills, guys.
skills gap, the need for having soft skills. So, what do you have any unsolicited advice to our president?
The one advantage I see him tapping on right now is a sense of authenticity image that the young perceive him to be. Like whatever he promised, he's doing it. And that strikes a big chord among the young people right now.
Yeah. He promised to end our problem with the illegal drugs within the 6 months of his presidency. Now he's saying he'll be doing it until 2022, until his last day in office.
I'm a person who understands business. You don't get result by means of an event. To get good result, you need process, and that's why process takes time. But at least the one thing that I've been hearing a lot of young people say, we were never even informed, and we did not even know how huge and how big and how wide the scope of that problem is until now. So if you are a business person with a business mindset, identifying the problem is already 50% of the solution. So I would rather still say that we got to be patient and wait for more results. And a lot of things will have to be challenged in the process.
Sir, do you think there's a need for the president to change the way he speaks, the way he chooses his words?
Words are extremely powerful. And you and I need to understand the moment our words leave our mouth, they're no longer ours. We have to be accountable. But we cannot change our words that will make us detached from our personality and our humanness and our real self. We can, however, choose words that will not compromise on its integrity, but perhaps say it in a more palatable way that people can understand, and so that you lessen the risk of being misunderstood. So communications is key. You guys know that very well. An issue can be neutral, but with the use of words, you can make it explosive or you can make it passive. And so I do agree that perhaps in communications, well, as a communicator myself, I also have to understand when I started speaking, I'm of the Chinese background. It's so difficult to first think in Chinese and then translate that into Filipino and then in English. And I think being somebody from the southern part of the country, he will have to go through that process also. So I would rather just give him the benefit of the doubt. And I would say that as long as what you say aligns with what you do, then that for me spells authenticity.
Henry
You're
Uri, DZRH.
Good morning, sir. I'll
Yes,
go to
sir.
the issue of corruption. A recent report of Transparency International says that the Philippines still ranked 95 among 168 countries all over the world. Although it is 10 notches lower to what we have got last year, but the corruption is still the problem in our country.
Yeah.
What do you think the president should immediately do to resolve corruption?
We have always understood a basic principle in life that a fish rots from the head. Therefore, in any organization, it is always trickle-down morality. And so, every head of every organization, whether private, government, or even in government, you have to make sure that the character of and the integrity of the leader should be untainted and should maintain its consistency in truthfulness. Therefore, I'll take a look carefully at the very leaders of the institutions. And I would say that they need to walk their talk, preach what they teach, and they need to be the embodiment of what this administration is supposed to represent.
Another question.
Yes.
How would you rate our president as a president, as a leader of this country?
In terms of what? Beauty or popularity? or
Well,
something?
the way he leads, the way he governs.
It's unconventional. I've been talking with a lot of business people. They say there's not even a category where you can rate him. Because, frankly, I've met so many leaders. He's a rare breed of his own. So I wouldn't know what the quantifying measures and standards should be in rating him. It's either. Whether something is perceived as good or bad depends on the eye looking at it. For example, he is very popular among Asian leaders that understand Asian discipline. But he is not looked upon favorably with the West that do not understand Asian discipline as well. That in itself should give us enough stuff to calculate and evaluate. Where is he? Where is he now? So I do have to apologize. I don't have a metrics in order to rank him.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, no more questions. MPC, thank you, Mr. Francis Kong.
You're welcome.
Presidential spokesperson Ernesto Abella.
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like I'd like to enroll as a millennial. All right. Once more, we look at the landscape, and the Philippine Stock Exchange, PSEI, has been ranked among the best performance in Asia for January. The Philippine shares outperformed much of Asia for the month of January. Nisha Alicer, Chief Equity Strategist of DA Market Securities, explained that January was actually a really good month, especially coming from the lows of December. Looking forward in February, Alicer is optimistic that events such as the first Federal Reserve Monetary Policy meeting for 2017 and BSP Monetary Policy meeting ought to bring back positive feedback. On the same note, one of the biggest auditing firms in the Philippines reported that the Philippines is Asia's new investment hub. Vice Chairman Emmanuel Bonuan of KPMG, Manabat and Company said that the growing economy helped boost consumer spending, especially among millennials. Bonuan believed that in order to achieve economic growth, tax reforms are very much needed. He also expressed his support for the tax reform package of the Department of Finance. Today is Constitution Day, and we celebrate that. It embodies the hopes and aspirations of our people, and as we remember this historic day, let us pay tribute to the hard work of the men and women who fought to give us a charter that binds us as Filipinos and take our nation to new heights of growth, prosperity, and inclusivity. May this occasion remind us to strengthen the rule of law in light of our fight to rid society of drugs and crimes and to stamp out corruption in government. Together, we will continue to reap the fruits of independence that shall benefit our people today and the generations to come. We will take a few questions.
Catherine Valente? Yeah.
Other issue.
Yeah.
You can set the pace.
Good morning, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
ma'am.
can we get the palace's statement on Mr. Tiglau's column regarding the January 23 ruling of World Bank's International Center for the Settlement of Investment Disputes? It ordered for the Philippine government to pay a Belgian firm 800 million peso for the cancellation of flood control project under the Aquino administration. Is the government po willing to pay such penalty, or ano po yung plano ng government about that issue?
We have to backtrack a little bit. The palace is yet to receive official document from the World Bank. So we cannot make any statements regarding that unless we have official statements. We will refer to the matter to the Office of the Solicitor General for proper legal action.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, Laila Salaveria?
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
On the Amnesty International report, is the government not going to order an investigation of its findings? Does it not? Isn't there something worth looking into in the AI report?
Specifically, I have this statement, but specifically again, can you your
The
question?
findings of the Amnesty International
Which
report
is?
that the police are being paid off to kill drug users and drug
Okay.
pushers.
We referred the matter to PNP, and there is no, and they have again clarified that there is no official sanction regarding that. There's no official policy regarding the matter, and so it has to be brought through IAS, the internal investigating committee.
Sir, what are you saying? Are you saying the Amnesty International should lodge a formal complaint
No.
for their findings to be looked into?
Well, I think they ought to be careful regarding those matters, especially when declaring it publicly, because it casts aspersion upon the Philippine National Police. However, when we referred to PNP, there was no official. Again, like I've said, there's no official matter regarding the matter.
Yeah, I understand the PNP gave a blanket denial, but
Yes.
on the part of the government, don't you think this warrants an investigation by maybe another institution? Or
Well, the government itself is pursuing internal cleansing, internal investigation. So whatever they say is simply coal to Newcastle. Thank you.
Sir, it has also been asked, on the drug war, why did it take the killing of a Korean businessman for the government to stop the police involvement in the anti-drug operations? Did he find nothing suspicious about the deaths of nearly 7,000 drug suspects?
I think you have to put it within the context of the entire operation. As the President has continually explained it, that the matter of deaths under investigation has to be made in reference to the thousands of arrests made, the thousands of operations. Okay, now the unique situation regarding that death merits attention, and so it's not as if it's what happens ordinarily. So the facts of the circumstance merits that kind of attention.
And the 7,000 didn't.
They did not happen within the camp, right?
Yeah, but
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the circumstances are unique in such sense. It speaks about a certain depth of impunity that is unimaginable.
Marlon Ramos, still on drugs?
No, yung another matter. Okay. A US-based NGO Freedom House reported that the Philippines further slipped in its press freedom index for 2016 because of the cases of unabated cases of extrajudicial killings. Your comment on this?
The administration of the president has been ranked partly free by the Freedom in the World report. The same classification it has been in the previous years, although there was a slight dip, okay, due to human rights violations of varying scale and impunity. Again, let me just say, apparently it does not include in its equation the widespread satisfaction that common people experience in the newfound peace and security that they find in their neighborhoods, okay? Now, again, let me just state that Freedom House, which provides the rankings, is also partially funded by the U.S. State Department, okay, which has become the subject of the president's criticisms, okay. It has Freedom House has haphazardly attributed the ranking to the president's policy of alleged extrajudicial killings of suspected drug dealers and addicts, and such conclusion is really far from the truth. The president's anti-drug war does not condone extrajudicial killings, and the president is clear that he is after criminals. The campaign against illegal drugs has yielded more than 1 million drug personalities, some of whom have already surrendered, while some admit themselves to the rehab programs. Again, let me just say, criminal cops are not government. Okay? Their illegal acts do not represent the police institution whose duty is to ensure the protection and security of civilians. Also not true is the Freedom House's unfounded statement that newly elected President Rodrigo Duterte won widespread support for his policy of EJK of suspected drug dealers and addicts. The president won on an overwhelming mandate of change. Okay, so it is for this reason that the chief executive continues to enjoy high satisfaction, approval and trust ratings amongst the people. In the face of all this, the president continues to work towards providing Filipinos a comfortable life in spite of widespread corruption even in government and the perception of other entities with differing agenda. So basically what we're saying is that we understand where they're coming from. They also apparently have their own point of view, but again, there seems to be a misperception about the president's actual operations.
Do you think the conclusion is baseless or
Is what?
Baseless or unfounded? You said unfounded.
They have an agenda in pointing it out, I'm saying.
Okay. Sir, does the palace think there's a need for a particular government agency, say the OJ or any other agency, to look into the specific findings of the AI research, the AI investigation?
I don't know if it's specifically AI, but definitely the president is concerned about what's happening and has actually responded, as you can very well see. Like, for example, the police have been PNP has been stopped from engaging in anti-illegal drug operations, and so there are efforts made in actually correcting and ensuring that the corruption is actually staunched within the organization.
I'm talking, sir, particularly about the
deaths.
Disturbing findings of the Amnesty International research.
About people.
About yes.
Payoffs.
The payoffs. Yes,
Payoffs.
of the cash and
It
incentives.
is. It's part of the cleansing operation. It's being looked into.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Joseph Morong?
Sir, since General Bato announced the stoppage at the very least of the Tokhang,
Yes.
why do you think is there a slowdown in the number of deaths of drug addicts?
What do you mean? So the implication is?
No, why do you think is there a slowdown of the number of drug-related killings, sir?
It may be attributed to a number of issues.
Like,
it may be. I cannot speculate on that matter. It's not for me. But simply that it is also lessened.
Sir, Senator Cheese, I think, wants to call on the AI to ask them about their findings. So what does the palace think about this?
He's free to do so.
Do you agree
In what?
in that the Senate will call on the AI to maybe elaborate more on their findings?
They're free to do that. They're actually free to do that.
Sir, kay Senator
Yes.
Lacson, Sabi niya, sir, yung the EFP running after Scalawag policemen, medyo parang dangerous siya because we will have to arm the groups, armed units running after each other, sir.
Well, this seems to be the solution that's being provided by the palace at this stage. And so let us go by let us assume regularity and due process.
Ace Romero?
Yusek, you already mentioned that you do not condone extrajudicial killings.
Not
but,
I mean.
the government. The
The
government.
government, yes,
Okay.
okay,
But the Amnesty International said the policemen were incited by the rhetoric of President Rodrigo Duterte. At least they were incited because of his, inflammatory statements against drug lords. Do you agree with that?
These are AI's observations, and they have to be they are actually opinions.
But does the palace agree that in some ways the president incited those killings, both legal or illegal?
All I can say is that the president has repeatedly said that the drug apparatus needs to be destroyed. Okay, whether it is to incite killing is not under the. It's a separate matter. It's a separate matter. But definitely, what the president has continued to stress is that the drug apparatus must be destroyed. That's why he frames it in terms of war.
For example, yung rhetoric ni President na kill them, shoot them, you don't agree that that incited some killings in one way or another? Parang ganun.
Well, some of these quote-unquote scalawags may have taken that, I'm saying it may have taken that as a form of cover in order to do engage in their own operations.
But do you think that statement or those statements emboldened both the policemen and the scalawags?
You were asking me to give you an opinion. That's not my purview. Thank you.
Okay.
Dexter Ganibe, to be followed by Joseph Morong.
Isaac, magandang hapon.
Yes, sir.
Yung war on drugs,
Yes.
tinanggalan ng Pangulo sa PNP.
Yes.
Tama po. Ano? With this action, kailangan pa ba maglabas ng panibagong memorandum order ang Pangulo? O kasi doon sa memorandum order number 3 na kanyang ilabas ay para sa PNP and AFP. So kailangan po bang maglabas ng panibago? Kasi sinasabi ng Armed Forces ay kailangan nila ng memorandum from the government dun sa sinasabi na kailangan nilang tumulong sa PIDEA ngayong nasa PIDEA na.
Well, they simply are following procedures. In the military, they're very firm, strict and firm about procedures. So that is their, from their perception is that this is a part of standard operational procedures.
Pero kailangan po bang maglabas ng panibagong memorandum order para i-repeal yung memorandum order number
Hindi ko po
3?
alam kung alin ang talagang kailangan sakto nila, pero naghahanap po talaga sila ng nakasulat na pagbabatayan ng kanilang mga galaw.
Kasi po yung Philippine Coast Guard, dahil kinuha din ng Pangulo ang tulong nila sa war on drugs, naglabas po siya ng memorandum order number 4. So, do we expect for...
Well, let's go by what the DND is asking for.
Kasi kung walang memo daw, sir, hindi sila pwedeng kumilos, ang Armed Forces of the Philippines.
That is their statement. Yun po ang kanilang salita.
So, paano po ngayon yun, sir?
Aantayin po nila yung it's referred to, it's a matter that is referred to the Office of the Executive Secretary.
So, hindi pa sila maaaring kumilos ngayon from the palace?
From where they're coming from kung saan po sila nagagaling, nag-aantay po sila ng pagbabasihan ng kanilang mga kilos.
So, may gagawin ang palace?
Come again?
May hakbang ang palasyo para sila
Inaantay po
kumilos?
nila yung manggagaling sa office ng ES.
Okay, thank you, Dexter. Joseph Morong?
So yun pong pag-transfer ng operations from the police to the PIDEA, is that an implicit admission or concession of the point that it has been used as a cover by several rogue cops?
I
for
don't
their
know if
criminal
it's an
activities?
admission of that's in the cover, but it is an admission. As far as the president's statement said, that the PNP at this stage is how do you put it, incapable of carrying out these very sensitive positions, and therefore these operations should now be referred to the proper organization, which is PDEA.
6 months before, 7 months before, he didn't know that the PNP will not be very capable of carrying out such a sensitive operation?
Like the gentleman said earlier, things need a process. And the president very validly has undergone a process. And so this is part of the process. It's part of the democratic process. He has not jumped into breathtaking conclusions that they are not trustworthy. In fact, he has given them his encouragement, his warnings, and now he sees that the depth is really profound and therefore needs to be stopped, staunched, and transferred.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, follow up, Marlon Ramos.
The president said 4 out of 10 policemen are corrupt. Do you think the PNP would be able to purge its ranks of scalawags and misfits before the president's terms end on?
It's something that we have to trust. You know, it's something that, again, it's a again, we belong to a democratic society. We go through processes, and if the nation participates, if the government participates, then we can at least hope for a substantial change in that organization.
How do you think should the PNP go about this? Isipin mo, 40% of the 170,000. So you're talking about 70,000 of them are corrupt.
Well,
how will the PNP purge those?
How will they? I leave it to them. But obviously, this time is a moment of they need to reflect deeply on their own situation, on their own organization.
One of the primary concerns about the president's drug war is the fact that it has no blueprint, a written policy on how to go about the drug war. After the purging of the PNP, will there be one? Will the president approve or release any order specifically stating how to go about the drug war?
I don't think it's entirely accurate to say that he does not have a blueprint. He does have a blueprint. It may not be written out according to procedures the way we understand it, but he is following a particular blueprint. If you notice, he's been very consistent. He identifies, he names, and that's part of it. Okay, but if you're asking, will it be written down? It's something that I think that they may not, but definitely there is a blueprint, and that's coming from the president's directives himself.
Pero is there an EO, any kind of order coming from the president stating how PIDEA, how the military, how the PNP should go about?
It's something that they have to thresh out.
Okay, thank you, Marlon. Next, Bombo, Raymond Tinasa. Other issue na to.
Sir, good nun. Bisan ko yung 2 puntos. Sir, reaction nyo sa sinabi ni Defense Secretary Delphine Lorenzana na mismong posible na misinformed itong si Pangulong Duterte kaugnay sa kanyang sinabi na arms depot dahil categorical na sinabi sa panayam ni Secretary Lorenzana na walang nagbababa ng armas mula sa US Armed Forces. Siguro, may bang mapanagot or mahanap kung sino yung nagsabi ng maling impormasyon kay Pangulo?
I don't know if it's a question of misinformation or feeding him wrong information, but definitely the president has his own sources about how he understands the situation. He did say that, for example, there were plans to build. This is from his last press briefing. He did mention about how there were plans to set up facilities to receive supplies, and this is where he was coming from. Because under the EDCA agreement, apparently it still is possible to do so. However, he says there must be no permanent structures, and it should not allow for arms supplies, and that seems to be where he was coming from.
Sir, last point. With all the reported violations of the New People's Army with their own unilateral ceasefire And yung sa sinabi ni Secretary Lorenzana kanina, na yung NPAA nangangwarta na lang daw at wala na yung ideolohiya. Do you still trust the CPP, NP, and NDF in the peace process? Although I understand the position of the President to go and all out for peace.
Your question is?
Do you still trust the CPP, NPA, NDF in the negotiations?
Apparently, yes, they continue to converse with the leadership. However, it is the leadership's the onus is upon the leadership in order to make sure that their ranks are actually walking also their talk.
Okay, thank you, Raymond. Last two questions, Dexter Ganive and Joseph Morong. Dexter.
Sir, 2 points lang.
Yes, ma'am.
Follow
Yes,
up
sir.
dun sa kay Raymond. Yung binabanggit, hindi kaya yung binabanggit ng Pangulo na arms supply? Kasi kahapon naglabas ng information ang US Embassy na may binigay silang grant na mga high-powered firearms or mga pang counter-terrorism arms sa Army and Philippine Marines. Hindi kaya ito yung
It may have reference to that, partial reference to that. It may have.
Sir, other issue. Nabanggit nyo kahapon sa isang statement na si Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea pa lang ang naitatalagang chairman ng EDSA People Power Commission at wala pang ibang mga opisyal doon sa commission na which is yung mga dating opisyal doon, ecoterminos, ibig sabihin wala na sila ngayon sa pwesto.
Okay.
So paano po yung magiging paghahanda dahil nasa 3 linggo na lang EDSA People Power anniversary na po?
I'm sure the office of the executive secretary is very capable and they'll be able to manage that.
Kahit siya lang mag-isa,
properly.
sir, kahit walang ibang opisyal doon sa EPPC?
Hayaan po natin siya na gumawa ng kanyang sariling komite.
Okay, thank you, Dexter. Joseph, last question.
Sa NDF lang. The
NDF.
President had said before the start of the talks that medyo malabo naman mag-release ng political prisoners. That can happen after the signing of
Correct.
the peace deal, right?
Correct.
So that's the President's not changing his mind as far as that is concerned.
As far as the last declaration that he has made, statement that he says he has given up way too much already, that these things, the actual release can happen after documents are
So
signed.
safe to say, sir, now we will not acquiesce to the, well, for lack of a better term, demand of the NDF to release these political detainees.
That would be an accurate statement of the President's position.
At what point, sir, will the President still wait for the NDF? I mean, when does he put his foot down and say, you know, demands are enough and we can maybe turn our backs on our own unilateral ceasefire?
Let's wait for the advice from the negotiators, government side.
Thank you,
Thank
Joseph.
you, sir.
Last question na talaga, Jenaline Kabili.
Sir, we're just curious. How will
Yes.
the government commemorate EDSA People Power, not knowing fully well that the President favored the burial of the late President?
You're
How
connecting
will-
two separate situations?
How will the government commemorate EDSA People Power Revolution?
Period. With dignity. Thank you very much.
Sir, wait. Sir, considering that the President...
Semicolon, yes.
Considering the President favored or he was amenable to the burial of the late dictator, who was ousted by the EDSA Revolution.
Well, the EDSA revolution has its own particular dignity. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Separate.
Joseph, please use the microphone. Benji Liwanag, last question na si Benji.
Sir, on the delisting on the terror list of Joma season,
Yes.
since nagsalita na yung NPA, may pagbabago ho ba on the government? Are you going to still
Correct me if I'm
stand
wrong,
for
but I
that?
don't think the NPA statement was an official statement. Was it an official statement?
Yes, sir.
Stating
it's official
specifically
because,
that?
yeah, he's the spokesman of New People's Army. That's his Kaoris and
And the
still
actual
work for, sir.
statement said
February 10, sir.
that there would be.
Unilateral ceasefire.
Okay, let's just go. Let's just let events unfold properly. At this stage, anything I say might be speculation regarding that matter.
Okay.
Point 5. Sir, how do you... I don't think you can divorce Marcos from the People Power Revolution,
Alright.
at least the first one. How
Right.
can you now, rephrasing the question of Ms. Atijen, how are you going to celebrate it, considering the fact that the President agreed to that Marcos be buried at the Libingan? I mean,
Again, let me say, like I said, it will be
with dignity.
in the sense of no. When I say with dignity, I mean it will, whatever they do will be to honor, will be to give it its due honor. That's what I'm saying. We'll give it its due honor. How it unfolds, we will have to find out. I will have to check with the I will have to check with the office.
What
of the
and
ES.
who are we honoring when we commemorate EDSA?
I will find out.
Sir, do
Okay,
you know
thank you, Joseph.
No, I mean the way it's if you're asking me how it will be done, so I will find out.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you, Joseph.
All
Thank
right.
you, Presidential Spokesperson Ernesto Abella.
Thank you very much,
Mr.
yes.
Francis Kong. Thank you, Malacañang Press Corps. Back to our main studio sa Radyo ng Bayan at PTV for